Watch BBC in Tehran sees government's political reply to massive protests. Authorities in Iran have put on a show of strength to mark the 47th anniversary of the Islamic Revolution, weeks after they used unprecedented force to put down anti-government protests. The BBC is visiting Tehran for the first time since the crackdown, during which at least 6,490 protesters were killed across the country, according to human rights activists. The BBC's chief international correspondent Lys Doucet says the bunting lining the capital's streets and large crowds of government supporters embody the image of the nation the government wants to see on the streets. Iranians coming out to show their support for the Islamic Republic and the revolution. Our correspondent is reporting from Tehran on condition that none of her material is used on the BBC's Persian service. These restrictions apply to all international media organizations operating in Iran. More aid has been allowed into Gaza since the ceasefire began 3 months ago, but the UN says it is nowhere near enough. Kurdish-run prisons hold about 8,000 suspected IS fighters and around 34,000 of their family members in camps. John Sudworth says the sounds of heavy machinery can be heard echoing around the neighborhood. The BBC's Middle East correspondent Hugo Bachega speaks to Syrians about how life has changed since the revolution. Hundreds gathered in Manger Square to bask in the festivities that included music, dancing, and Santas bearing sweet treats. The vehicle had transported the late Pope Francis on a visit to Bethlehem in 2014. About 14,000 babies will die in 48 hours if aid does not reach them, a UN humanitarian chief warns. Humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher talked to the BBC about scenes of despair he witnessed on a recent trip to the coastal enclave. Tom Fletcher told the BBC more aid trucks were entering Gaza, but that it was a huge job to get vital supplies to those in need. Shadi Abu Sido told the BBC an Israeli prison officer said his family had been killed. The United Nations Development Programme UNDP says over 80 of all buildings in the territory are destroyed or damaged. People in Tel Aviv describe how they feel after all remaining living hostages are released by Hamas. Israel says it has released 1,968 prisoners and detainees as part of a ceasefire deal with Hamas. The U.S. president was speaking at the Israeli parliament after the release of all 20 living hostages from Gaza. Israel is releasing 250 Palestinian prisoners as part of the ceasefire deal with Hamas. Video released by the Israeli military shows more smiling and embracing two relatives. The footage shows Alon Ohol and Guy Gilboa Dalal speaking to Israeli soldiers after being freed from Hamas captivity in Gaza. Einav Zangacher, the mother of a hostage freed from Hamas captivity and brought to Israel, spoke with him via video call for the first time in 2 years. Large numbers of people packed out Hostages Square in Tel Aviv, where screens were erected to welcome home hostages freed from Hamas captivity. Palestinians in the West Bank say they hope the deal could lead to a united Palestinian future. Copyright 2026 BBC. The BBC is not responsible for the content of external sites. Read about our approach to external linking. Subscribe to Neuron News and turn on notifications to stay updated with world developments instantly.